The year is 2020. Quarantine has trapped us inside, and the closest thing you can get to psychiatric help was scrolling on Twitter. Now, to keep ourselves entertained, we'd engage in our little communities, discussions, and especially trends. According to People magazine, these consisted of Zoom calls? Oh, okay. TikTok dances? Yeah, okay, for sure. Tie-dye? Okay. And the Cuomos? Okay, I don't know what type of timing they were on posting that, but one trend I can 110% tell you that happened was the picrew one. People would make themselves in picrew, tweet out the finishing results, go, "Oh my gosh, this is literally me, you know what I'm talking about." And then link the picrew in the replies for the crowd to follow and repeat. And trust me, I was no leader, so you best believe I had my hand at it. I opened up the picrew that was being passed around, and I quickly grew confused because my locks weren't there for a hairstyle. My tooth gap was nowhere to be seen, and my skin color was apparently an ashy gray? What? So while everyone fawned over how these picrews were made in their exact likeness, all I could think was, when and where did we lose the plot here? Of course, this was 2020. As I'm writing this video, it's 2025, and a lot can change and improve in 5 years, believe it or not. Coincidentally, I was once again tagged in a picrew post, and I did it. You wanna know what's crazy? Half of you already probably guessed it, but I'll do the honors of showing you that nothing changed. Nothing at all. Why are we still here? I don't think I can properly describe the sheer disappointment that coursed through my veins when a nasty thought I had abandoned years upon years ago resurfaced, staring me straight in my face saying, "Am I so hard on the eyes that I can't even be seen properly on a screen?" However, instead of sinking into that disheartened feeling again, I held out for hope. Maybe this was a problem that only I had thought so intensely about. Maybe in some sort of twisted way, there were different perspectives I was just not seeing. So I sat down and started making a forum, which would inform me on what direction to take this video and by extension, my feelings towards character creators. So hi, I'm Ray. Join me as we dive into what I like to call the picrew problem. For the forum, I mentioned more popular character creators so that everyone would be on the same page of what exactly I was talking about. So when I say character creators, I mean any form of media where you're given the ability to customize a character in a subject's likeness. That could be you, that could be your friend, that could be a family member, a character you created, or even someone you hate, I don't know. I do recognize that a lot of people zoned in on the character creators I mentioned, so I won't be talking about those responses directly in order to keep the targets of this conversation broad. I apologize if I didn't word the form well enough, and if I end up creating another one in the future, I'll be sure to run it by a couple eyes and be more aware of how I word my forms. That aside, here's how I formatted the questions for this one. For starters, and to be non-biased, I asked for overall experiences rather than strictly positive or negative ones, so I didn't influence any thoughts that people had. The questions that followed were open response questions, which allowed participants to expand on their previous answers. This felt like a pretty unbiased way to go about this survey, so I sent it out to my YouTube, Discord, and Instagram audience. With that finished, I decided to wait for the responses to pile, and here is what I gathered. In terms of quality of representation, I received an average of 3.3 out of 5. For ease of navigation, there was an average of 3.9 out of 5. For frequency of use, it was an average of 3 out of 5. All these scores averaged out resulted in an overall score of 3.4, which was lower than the overall experience score, which was a whopping 3.76. At this point, I considered dropping this video entirely because it seemed like my experiences were completely and utterly unique. And honestly, I couldn't do much about that. People will feel the way that they feel, and it's only my job to represent them fairly. So I proceeded to the open-ended responses, and something didn't match up.
Their selections for diverse features were sparse.
Many pictures lack any variety for dark skin tones, different hair textures, or interesting hairstyles and textures here. You had the option to change skin tones and hair. Not always the same, therefore
what the fuck? This is where I realized that, oh, what I had experienced? That isn't a unique experience. And that's a problem. Now that I've proved that I'm not entirely delusional in making up problems for fun, I think it's important to highlight the red flags in character creators that not only I have seen, but others as well. Here are the most common ones in rapid fire. 1. The lack of skin tones in character creators. You mean with all the colors that could be conjured within the entire spectrum, you landed on gray and thought, yeah, people have that complexion. No, the fuck they don't! 2. The lack of hair types and styles. If you're unfamiliar, this is a chart of all the different hair types and styles a person can have. I don't know why there's a ton of hairstyles up until 3A and then everyone after that has a Killmonger cut. It's either that or you gotta go bald, I guess? 3. The lack of mobility aids and disability representation. Not everyone is able-bodied, and I'm gonna think your IQ is the same number as your shoe size if you think otherwise. And 4. The lack of clothing and accessories from different religions and cultures. And no, insanely racist caricatures do not count. Okay, cool. We got to the bottom of what lacks in these sort of character creators.
But Ray, You just complain. How do you propose you fix them?
Shh. I'm just about to get to that. I'm so glad you asked. Here's what I would do. But before I start, I just want to let you know that I'm aware there are certain limitations when it comes to creating character creators. And, there's only so much you can do. However, I don't think what I'm asking for is that hard. I don't know. 1. Add an HSL slider for everything. If a slider is impossible, leave the color presets. Add more color options. Once again, for everything. 2. Instead of creating complete hairstyles, section them out by bangs, mid-hair, back hair, etc, etc. 3. Create hairstyles that aren't just from 1A to 2C. Create hairstyles for straight, wavy, curly, and kinky hair. Include protective hairstyles as well, and make all the lengths vary the same. Not all protective hairstyles are super long. Not all straight hair is super long as well. Mix it up, man! 4. Add mobility aids. This could be prosthetics, wheelchairs, canes, crutches, walkers, etc, etc. 5. A body type slider, which could include adjusting height and weight. This would also probably have to do with body markers such as like moles and vitiligo. 6. Add more facial features that aren't strictly Eurocentric. Not everyone has a slim nose, no one has the same eye shape, mouth shape, etc, etc. I could go on. 7. Add teeth and dental differentiation. This is like gaps and braces. 8. Add cultural and religious clothing, body art, etc, etc. And 9. Don't lock clothes behind a person's chosen gender. I don't know, that's always just been weird to me. That's just been like a pet peeve of mine for like ever. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some character creators and by extension picrews that do a phenomenal job at being inclusive and should definitely be given their flowers. But considering the entire population of character creators, these good ones become such a measly number in comparison, and that's kind of really sad to see. I personally believe that if more character creators follow the things that I mentioned above, the number of good, inclusive, and diverse character creators would shoot up like instantly. As always, if I've forgotten anything, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think would make a character creator more fleshed out, more diverse, and especially more inclusive. Now, I've seen people attempt to argue that, hey, people shouldn't have to accommodate to your personal needs. People don't have to represent you if they don't want to. And usually after hearing that, I search up the safest way to give myself a lobotomy because that's the only way I'll be able to listen to that and think that's a valid argument. Stop trying to justify people's irrational fear of representation. It is so entirely harmful to assume that people do not need to be represented in any sort of media, especially when you're making a character creator. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. That's supposed to be me. And people still have the audacity to look at you like it's your fault when they should be worried about getting outclassed by Me Maker. For the Wii. From 2006, from before I was born, like, you have bigger fish to fry right now. There are absolutely no downsides in making something more inclusive and accessible. The fact that people do mental gymnastics to validate their own harmful opinions and feelings about representation is scary. As a black person online, it was constantly seeing artists get dogpiled for making black edits of characters. It's seeing constant whitewashing of canonically black characters and hearing people say, yeah, I fixed them. It's having to choose facial features that I don't have in whatever game I play because they couldn't be bothered to make 2 extra options. It was wishing my hair was straighter when I was younger so it could be easier to capture my likeness in these picrew challenges. It was hating the Killmonger cut and the Space Puffs because they were the only ones always there. It was having people see my skin and still think that gray makes sense. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now, if you feel any sort of way about this topic, I implore you to really look inside and see why you feel so negatively about it. Well, I believe once you begin to unpack those feelings and become more active in learning about and representing different communities, you will grow not just as an artist, but as a person. But because I'm not a licensed psychologist recognized by the state, and I can only speak about my personal experiences, I'm gonna stick to talking about the artist aspect of this, if you don't mind. I cannot think of a greater paradox than an artist who refuses to learn. While art can mean anything you want it to mean, I fully believe to my very core that you do yourself a disservice by preventing yourself from learning because of your pre-existing biases. It's when you finally begin to step out of your comfort zone and learn more about things you're not as knowledgeable about that you slowly begin to become a better artist. You become a lot more conscious of your decisions in your art making process, and that's what makes compelling art. That's what makes a compelling artist. Whether it be race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, so on and so forth, nobody should have to fight against tooth and nail to prove that they're here, that they deserve to be seen. We all have a face, and not a single one will be the same. Whether you like it or not, and especially whether you want to acknowledge it or not, these faces of ours will continue to exist. But nothing will change until we push each other to broaden our horizons, embrace our differences rather than shy away from them. One response I got said it best. Knowing that maybe someone out there could sympathize with some lived experiences outside of their own through my art, or that maybe someone could feel represented by my silly OCs, is enough to make me want to keep going. The world is too vast and varied for us to keep ourselves in our tiny little bubbles and never leave. There are many great stories to be told out there, and we all deserve to see people like us in art, even in something that could be deemed as inconsequential, like character creators.